16th. I will call this meeting to order at 5:01. Nicole, can I please have roll?
Councilmember Santos?
Here.
Councilmember Finn?
Here.
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Here.
Mayor Lara?
Here. This meeting will be open to the public and conducted in a virtual format to be inclusive of all participation preferences. Public comment participation is encouraged by emailing any comments to the city clerk's office or by calling in using the phone number provided on the front of the agenda. Nicole, do we have any public comments at this time?
I have no written comments. Carrie, do we have anyone on the line?
No callers on the line.
Mr. Pinckney, would you please read the items for closed session discussion?
Yes, the council will be meeting in closed session. Item number 1 is conference with legal counsel regarding potential initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, one potential case. We will not be discussing item 2 in closed session this evening. And item 3 is conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 for property known as APNs 418-190-004, portion of 005, portion of 06, 07, and 418-140-028 and 029. The agency negotiator is City Manager Todd Parton or his designee. The negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont and 5th Street Development LLC, Vantage One Real Estate Investments LLC, and Orem Capital. Under negotiation are price and terms. The 4th item is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The city designated representatives are the City Manager Todd Parton and Administrative Services Director Carrie Mendoza. The employee organizations are the Beaumont Police Officers Association and the SEIU.
Thank you, Mr. Pinckney. And with that, we will go ahead and adjourn to closed session. Mr. Peony, can you please report out from closed session?
Yes, the council met in closed session. Item number 1, conference with legal counsel regarding potential initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D4, one potential case. There was no reportable action taken. Item number 3, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 for property known as APNs 418-190-004, portion of 005, portion of 006, and 007, and 418-140, 028, and 029. The agency negotiator, city manager Todd Partner as designee, the negotiating parties, City of Beaumont and Fifth Street Development LLC, Vantage One Real Estate Investment LLC, and Orem Capital under negotiation price and terms regarding potential sale of the property, and there was no reportable action taken in closed session. And then item number 4, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, city designated representative, city manager Todd Parton, and administrative services director Carrie Mendoza, employee organizations, the Beaumont Police Officers Association, and the SEIU, and there was no reportable action taken.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pinckney. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the City of Beaumont regular session for November 16th, and I will call this meeting to order at 6:23 p.m. Can you please rise for the pledge, and we will have an invocation by Pastor Rob with Venture Church after the pledge.
So ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this city that you have privileged us to live in and to be a part of, and we thank you for the citizens that are a part of the community here. Ask your blessing upon them and this entire community and the businesses. We're grateful for those who work here in our town. And Lord, we also want to thank you for our council, and we ask a special blessing upon them tonight, and we pray, the Lord, that as you are as they are meeting, that you would give wisdom and direction for the weighty decisions that are to be made regarding our community. And we ask your blessing upon this time, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Rob.
Thank you.
And Nicole, I don't believe we have any announcements, recognitions, or proclamations this evening.
No, sir.
Okay. That brings us to the public comment period. This meeting will be open to the public and conducted in a virtual format to be inclusive of all participation preferences. Public comment participation is encouraged by emailing any comments to the city clerk's office or by calling in using the phone number provided in the front of the agenda. Any person wishing to speak can do so by filling out a form at the back of the room and handing it to a staff member. Nicole, do we have any comments, public comments at this time?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
Okay, so that brings us to consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are taken as one action unless an item is pulled for further discussion here or at the end of action items. Approval of all ordinances and resolutions to be read by title only. Council, there was a request to make a change to action item 4, so that item will be pulled from consent. And it'll be brought back at a later date. And so with that, I will take a motion to approve, or if council wishes an item to be pulled, we can pull and then move forward with the motion with the remaining items.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve consent items 1 through 3 and 5 through 7.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Santos?
Aye.
Councilmember Fenn?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes. That brings us to public hearings. Item 8, Cdbg funding request for program year 2022-2023. We have a staff report by Ms. Christina Taylor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Before you this evening is our request for funding for CDBG program year 2022 through 2023. Each year, the city applies for community development block grant funding. The amount estimated for this year for all programs is approximately $168,900. The city can award a maximum of 15% or $25,335 of these dollars this year to nonprofit groups. In previous years, the city typically funds approximately $20,000 in nonprofit requests and reserves the remaining funding for neighborhood improvement projects. This year, the city of Beaumont received 2 applications from nonprofit public programs. One is New Beginnings Transitional Services. Their requested amount was $181,500, and their program is for rapid rehousing and rental assistance projects. The other application we received from nonprofits are the Boys and Girls Club of the San Gorgonio Pass in the amount of $20,000. And this proposal is requesting funding for the Camp Kids program that the Boys and Girls Club runs throughout summer, Thanksgiving, winter, and spring. The programs are provided at Brookside Elementary and Sundance Elementary. The other application is the city's application for street maintenance and rehabilitation. And staff is estimating, based on the amount that council has to award to nonprofits, that there'll be approximately $148,000 left for the city's CIP projects, which these funds are usually allocated towards. It will be for general street maintenance, curb and ramp modifications, ADA requirements, any combination of those things that would be identified as eligible through the CDBG program and prioritized by the Public Works Department. The City Council has approved funding priorities, which are infrastructure improvements, recreation improvements, youth and after-school programs, and support services for homeless veterans and special needs. All of these applications do meet this criteria. Staff has reviewed these applications for completeness to ensure they meet both the city's funding priorities and CDBG requirements. Staff did publish a notice of funding availability in the newspaper and on the city's website for a minimum of 30 days as required by this program. Staff is recommending that City Council hold a public hearing and authorize staff to submit the City of Beaumont CDBG application, as well as submit the application for the Boys and Girls Club of San Gorgonio Pass. I'm available if you have any questions, and happy to answer anything.
Thank you very much, Christina. So with that, I will open the public hearing at 6:30. Nicole, do we have any public comments on this item?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
I do have one caller on the line.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and put them through when you're ready.
Okay, give me one moment.
Caller, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Lara and council members. My name is Megan Grisham, and I'm Director of Operations for Boys and Girls Clubs of the San Gorgonio Pass. It is safe to say the past nearly 2 years were not something any of us could foresee. As a community, we have been through so much, and as a country, so much more. From the worry of the virus, the closure of businesses and schools, to the civil unrest and politics that divided a nation, we all carried so much worry. There were many families that were able to stay home and became stronger units. However, we saw 3 very distinct issues facing home life. For many working families, especially those with no help in the area, there was the weight of getting to work and ensuring their children had a safe place to go. Some families had to deal with tight spaces and increasing turmoil in the home, which created an unhealthy living situation, while others simply did not have the means to help their children. As our Camp Kids project continued to extend with COVID, we received more and more calls from parents and guardians, many in tears with no other options. Families had children in cars while they worked, sitting in lobbies, staying home unattended, or some parents were simply at the end of their time off and had the difficult decision to quit their job they relied on to support their children. It has always been the Boys and Girls Club mission to stand in where we are needed. After school is our business, but we continue to run and support Camp Kids the entire length we were needed. As we supported our youth each day through virtual schooling, fun activities including art, fitness in the amazing Chatney Center gym, cultural opportunities, and so much more, it was apparent our youth were not just surviving in their new normal, they were thriving. Members happily adopted a culture of kindness with daily opportunities to do good. The positive environment mixed with fun, educational, and creative programs helped our youth become more resilient and helped them to navigate their new world as they returned in the fall. Anyone in the educational world will tell you things are tough right now. Children have lost so much over the pandemic: education, family, stability, confidence. The list goes on. Our youth have fallen behind and they simply cannot afford any more time away from structure, guidance, and caring adults. A $20,000 grant will help us continue the Camp Kids program during out-of-school breaks, insulating our youth from additional setbacks and giving them the opportunity they desperately need and deserve. We want to thank the City of Beaumont for your ongoing support, and please know each and every dollar truly goes to changing and saving lives. On a side note, I also just want to say that you have an amazing city staff member, Doug Story, who we can't say enough good about. His dedication to the city and positive attitude made him a dream to work with, so we just wanted to give him a shout out and thank you all for your support.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you.
We have any other comments on the line, or?
I have no written. Olivia, do you have any other callers?
No, I do not have any more callers.
So with that, I will go ahead and close the public comment at 6:33 and open it up for council discussion.
I have a question.
Mayor Pro Tem White.
Christina, are we up against a deadline that we have to choose, we have to make a decision tonight on who receives the CDBGs, or do we have time to bring it back again for another council meeting?
So we are up against a little bit of a timeline because of the way our council meetings have fallen. I believe the items are due to CDBG the 10th, which would be 3 days after your next council meeting. So if we needed to continue it, we could do so. My preference is always, though, to make sure that we leave plenty of time.
So my concern is, I did a little really brief research on the New Beginnings. Mm-hmm. And my concern with that was it was brief because there wasn't a whole lot to find. Mm-hmm. I went to their website. They did not list any of, under contacts, you usually see individuals' names, mm-hmm. and there's ways to reach out to those individuals, like a president or a founder. Mm-hmm. And there was not any of that. And so my concern, I think that's an awful lot of money. I don't know if the rest of you have looked into it at all. The idea that they have two paid staff, 3 volunteers, and 5 board members makes me a little concerned.
Councilmember White, we are not recommending funding that program. Staff is only recommending funding Boys and Girls Club and then the city's application. Staff did the same research you did, as well as looked through the application packet, and ultimately ended up at the recommendation that's before you this evening.
Okay.
I had the same concerns, Mayor Pro Tem White, so.
Mm-hmm. I apologize for misreading the staff recommendations.
Mr. Mayor, quick question on the same subject. Is this the first time that New Beginnings has requested that from the city?
Yes.
Okay.
It is, yeah. It's the first time they've requested, and this will be their first entry into the county of Riverside as well. They are based out of Orange County, and so that was a little bit of not a red flag, but it was just different than what staff normally looks for. We normally look for people that are serving residents in the community that have a history of showing the services as being provided.
Okay. If there are no other comments, I'll make a motion to approve and authorize city staff to submit CDBG application for the City of Beaumont Street Rehabilitation Project and give authority to the city manager to reduce or increase the amount funded to the projects based on the final amount of funding available to the City of Beaumont, and approve and authorize city staff to submit CDBG application for the Boys and Girls Club of San Gregorio Pass program, request of $20,000, subject to the conditions of the CDBG program as provided by Riverside County EDA.
I'll second.
Councilmember Santos?
Aye.
Councilmember Fenn?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes. Brings us to action item 9, approve a non-exclusive lease agreement with Freedom in Christ Church to lease the city-owned property located at 500 Grace Avenue. Staff report by Mr. Parton.
So on this item, we believe that we have Councilmember Santos has a
Yes.
conflict because you own real property that's within 500 feet of this property.
That's correct. I have to recuse myself. I have 3 properties next to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Santos.
Mayor, Council, so this property is city property, I believe was really one of the original city hall buildings in the city. Since February 2015, Freedom in Christ Church has been an occupant for the building. So they have provided a monthly lease payment. In addition to that, they've been doing building maintenance. They have been providing or covering all the utility costs. So, but we have not had a formal lease or rental agreement with them during that time frame. So, sometime back, actually, Mr. Rosinski and I did approach the church about trying to move forward with a formal lease document. We did have some discussion that there could be a time at some point in the future where the city may want to look at repurposing that building. And we've talked about a number of different things over the time I've been here. For example, would we try to use it as another city administrative annex? Is it a place that we looked at one point about the possibility of relocating transit. We've talked about a number of different things. In some cases, there may be other types of uses for the building that may be out there as well. So we had that frank conversation with the pastor and talked about that, and talked about the fact that they would request that we had some sort of timeline that we could establish for them to give them enough heads up so that they could figure out where they might want to go with facilities. So do they want to try to acquire land and construct, buy another building and renovate? There's different options like that that they need to consider. So, so here we are today, having drafted this lease agreement. It does provide for an initial 6-month term, and so allows them to be able to stay in that building under the existing terms that we have today. And then after that, we're looking at a month-to-month extension. Again, that would be under the existing conditions that we have today. There's a hard stop to this lease, which would be December of 2022. So at that time, then the lease would be terminating. It could not be extended unless the city council were to decide to extend this lease and to continue that arrangement moving forward. But it does provide for that balance of that 6-month period. If they need to think about transition or want to transition, they can go. It also does have a provision that either party could terminate the lease at any time for any reason at their sole discretion. So our recommendation to council tonight on this item would be to approve the lease that we have presented for 500 Grace Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parton. Nicole, do we have any public comments on this item?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Okay, I will open it up for council discussion. Councilmember Finn.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a question for council. Do we need to advertise and make it available to any other potential renters? Okay. And have they been the only one that has rented that building from us?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Finn. No. Mayor Pro Tem White.
I'm good with the plan moving forward with the 6 months and then the hard stop at 1 year. But since this is on the agenda, I'd like to discuss giving direction to staff and possibly to the Economic Development Committee to consider using this building, which is a historic building, and it would be an outstanding cornerstone of our downtown area. And I would like to see during that 6 months some ideas on how we can repurpose it. City Manager, you and I have talked before about finding a place to incubate new businesses. Also, I think the idea that we're considering at some point a parking structure in that area that, again, using a building like that with the history that building has as our cornerstone of attracting new businesses to the kind of pedestrian-type downtown area we're looking to create. So I'm good with what we're voting on tonight, but I would like to see something by the 6 months, give us some options, some ideas to move forward with it. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem White. Is there a consensus with council to direct staff to do that? I think that's a great idea.
Yep, I agree.
Is that all right, Mr. Park?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion on this item?
Where is it at? Yeah, I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve, for the approval of the non-exclusive lease agreement with Freedom in Christ Church and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the city of Beaumont.
I'll second.
Councilmember Finn,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White,
Yes.
Mayor Lara.
Yes. Thanks very much for bringing this to us, Mr. Parton. Appreciate that. Brings us to action item 10. Okay, brings us to action item 10, request for verification of approval authority by California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. Staff report by Ms. Christina Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff has received a request from the California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, known as ABC, requesting verification from City Council that the Planning Commission has been delegated the authority to approve applications for alcohol service or sales, and if needed, findings of public convenience and necessity within the City of Beaumont. The municipal code does establish permitted and conditionally permitted uses citywide. It also establishes the approval body for each type of application associated with a use. In both the downtown area plan and in zones outside of the downtown area plan, alcohol sales, liquor stores, bars or lounges, and restaurants with alcohol beverage sales require conditional use permit approval. Other uses like grocery stores and convenience markets with alcohol sales are subject to Planning Commission approval through either a conditional use permit or a plot plan application, both of which are approved by Planning Commission. Since the Beaumont Municipal Code establishes the Planning Commission as the approval body for both conditional use permits and plot plans, City Council is identified as the appeal body. Since alcohol sales of any other type require a conditional use permit or a plot plan, the Planning Commission is the appropriate body for approval. Included with the staff report is a letter to ABC stating the information from the municipal code as identified above and as requested from ABC. So staff is recommending City Council approve the letter for signature by the mayor and direct staff to remit the letter to California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this item.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taylor. Nicole, do we have any public comments on this item?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
Okay, I'll open it up for a council discussion. Or a motion.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the letter for signature by the mayor and direct staff to remit the letter to the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control.
I'll second.
Councilmember Santos?
Aye.
Councilmember Fenn?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes.
Thank you.
This brings us to action item 11. City Council approval of change order number 21 for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade expansion in the amount not to exceed $28,006.52 for plant improvements. Staff report by Mr. Thaxton Van Bell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight before you is change order number 21 that consists of 5 items that I'll briefly run through. Item number 1 is a drain modification using existing piping and labor and fusing machine with Lyles to redirect our waste flow from the centrifuges to the head of the wastewater plant. Item number 2 is to provide foam control and mixing in our plant, in-plant lift station. Helps break up the sediment that is in the low-level pump station. Item number 3 is to provide insulation to the blower piping that can get pretty hot, and there's a couple areas that are within reach of both staff and the public in the event that we're hosting tours, so we thought that was a prudent item to add. Item number 4 are modifications to the MBR chemical feed skids. This modification will allow for off-gas venting to avoid any damage to the piping network. And number 5 is a UV network switch. We added a new UV system, but we needed internet connectivity at the remote station for online monitoring of the instrumentation. The total for all of these comes to $28,006.52. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Thank you, Thaxton. Do we have any comments on the line?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have any callers on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
I'll open it up for council discussion or a motion.
Here, just have a point of clarification.
Sure.
Good. Yeah, Nicole, can you just make sure that the 21s are changed to 22s so that it reflects it? Because it's 21 keeps popping up quite a bit, but it is change order 22. So just to match the vote. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I have a, Thaxton, on the
Yes.
on the UV switch, why wasn't that included with the system when we just purchased it?
They assumed that remote internet would be available at that site. Our UV station is outside of the building and further down the line there, so we had to add a network switch to get it connected back.
Is
to
that
the
something
main
that they would
building.
do on a pre-bid walk?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Isn't that something that they would do when they do a pre-bid walk, or was that not done?
This was something so when we put the new UV system in, the original plan had a panel included, and we used that panel that was included with the original contract. But what it didn't include was the new remote monitoring system that the new system came with. So it required this switch.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Question or motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the change order number 22 for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade and expansion in the amount of not to exceed $28,006.52.
I would just add with the change made by Councilmember Martinez from 21 to 22 on the staff report.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Santos,
Aye.
Councilmember Finn,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White,
Yes.
Mayor Lara.
Yes. Brings us to action item 12, Pension 115 Trust Options, staff report by Jennifer Eustachian.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The discussion of the consideration of a Pension 115 trust began in March of 2020 when Bartel and Associates presented analysis on the city's pension liability. On March 16, 21, the City Council approved to commit $2.5 million of unassigned fund balance in the general fund to address the city's pension liability and to bring back options at a later date for the use of those funds. In September of 21, the City Council was presented by staff with an update discussing the current unfunded liability, the recent trigger of CalPERS funding risk mitigation policy, and where CalPERS is in their current asset liability management process. That presentation has been included, which is page 358 of your packet. At that meeting, Council directed staff to research Pension 115 trust options, model financial scenarios, and create a pension funding policy. The item tonight will focus on the options for a Pension 115 trust. And a Pension 115 trust is a tax-exempt investment vehicle authorized by the Internal Revenue Code used to pre-fund essential government expenses such as retirement benefits. To remain tax-exempt, assets held in a Section 115 trust are designated as irrevocable, meaning they must be used to fund the city's retirement obligations. Additionally, monies held in such trusts can be invested in accordance with the rules governing those trusts, which are different than the investment rules for the city's pooled investments. Setting aside funds in a Section 115 trust can potentially earn a higher rate of return than if funds were invested with the city. And funds placed in a Section 115 trust can remain in the trust until a point in time when the city chooses to draw on its assets to pay annual benefit obligations or reimburse the city for its pension expense. The city may withdraw funds by adopting policies and procedures that include requiring action to be taken by City Council. The city would set its own restrictions on how and when the funds can be used and withdrawn. Establishing a Section 115 trust to pre-fund pension obligations is a best practice recommended by the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA. Some of the other benefits that a Section 115 trust program can provide are the city has complete local control over assets, including contributions, disbursements, and the timing amount, and risk tolerance level investments. Assets can be transferred to the retirement system at the city's discretion and potentially reduce, eliminate large fluctuations in employer contribution amounts. And the city can use deposited cash as an emergency source of funds in the event revenues are strained during difficult budgetary or economic times by reimbursing the general fund for pension-related obligations for current and prior year. City staff researched Pension 115 trust options and found through other agencies' RFPs that there are very few options to choose from. The major players that are offered pension trusts to meet the needs of the city are CalPERS, Keenan Financial, PARS, and PFM. Page 378 of your packet has a comparison summary for each of these options. And starting on page 379 of your packet is each option's performance reports as of September 30th, 2021, with the exception of PFM. City staff spoke with representative from PFM who informed staff that they were currently not taking any new clients till March of 2022 because of a transition to a new trustee. They also have a minimum fee of $25,000, which would be a significant amount higher than the other options, and the requested information to provide in the comparative analysis was never received. The comparative analysis shows that CalPERS Pension Trust has the lowest administrative fees with an all-inclusive fee rate of 25 basis points of employer account assets under management. There are no other fees. However, they only offer two strategy choices. They require 150 days notice for termination along with CalPERS board approval. Keenan Financial Services offers a Pension 115 trust with 6 tolerance level portfolio choices. The total management fees are 30 basis points of assets under management, and termination with Keenan requires 90 days advance notice. Public Agency Retirement System, PARS, pension gave the city 2 Pension 115 options. The reason for this is that currently the trust investment advisor is Highmark Capital Management, who is a subsidiary of Union Bank. When the city addressed concerns with Union Bank, PARS decided to offer the city another option, which is not generally offered to other agencies. And this option replaces Highmark Capital with Vanguard as the investment advisor and has total admin fees at 37 basis points from the 60 basis points in the PARS first option. However, it only provides for 4 risk tolerance options and does not include higher level of customer service that will be provided by Highmark. While all options given can provide adequate service, city staff determination evaluation process concluded that the PARS option with Highmark would provide the best overall value for the city. And currently, Highmark is in the process of being acquired by U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank would also serve as the trustee. This option provides 5 risk tolerance levels with a choice of active or passive, for a total of 10 risk tolerance options and can customize a portfolio with a valuation over $5 million. And passive investing means to hold at a representative benchmark, whereas active involves constant attention to beat the benchmark. PARS has extensive experience with pension trusts with a higher level of service provided with administering the trust, including assistance with developing investment policy, funding recommendations, along with flexibility of investment options offered through Highmark Capital. They provide a mutual indemnification in their member agreement, but the other providers do not, as well as they have an IRS private ruling letter, which is an added assurance of the tax-exempt status of the trust. If the city is not satisfied with the service provided, the termination process is quicker with that than the other providers, only requiring a 30-day notice. And PARS also has an extensive client list, which is on page 413 of your packet. If the city council supports the recommendation of staff, then the next step would be to invite PARS to present to the city council, authorize establishment of the PARS trust, and appoint a plan administrator. Once the account is established, city staff can begin to work with PARS on developing a specific investment policy statement and procedures, model financial scenarios, and develop a funding strategy for future contributions to the trust that will serve as the underlying investment guide to the city's account. The investment policy and funding strategy will be reviewed by city council with recommendation for adoption. And with that, I'll take any questions that council may have. I know it's a lot.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eustachian. Do we have any public comments, Nicole?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
Okay, so I will open it up for council discussion. Or a motion? Or actually, it's not a motion, it's direction. My apologies.
Mayor, may I go?
Mayor Pro, yes, please, Mayor Pro
Okay.
Tem.
Yeah, I don't know what's worse, PERS or Union Bank. So that's my only concern with option 3. Have we had our finance team, like Michael Bush, I don't know if this is out of his area of expertise, or the company that we hired to invest our other assets, have we had them look into, provide some insight or input, or is that not appropriate for either of those two companies?
I actually did contact our current investment advisor, Public Trust, and they provided a recommendation for PARS. They have worked extensively with them in the past, and they provided a good review.
We had the same exact discussion about Union Bank being involved in this team as well. But I will say these are different divisions, but there is a transfer from Union Bank to US Bank. So there is a transfer in terms of that part of the team.
What do you mean by transfer? Explain what you mean by transfer.
A transition.
Okay,
Right,
so in other
so-
words, US Bank, I think you were saying here, is acquiring Union Bank, or?
Right. So you're really going to be doing business under the US Bank umbrella.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I think we made a good move by setting money aside as we did before, and the idea that we can continue to put money aside that will be earmarked for retirement, correct? It cannot be changed later. We can decide when to use it and how to use it as long as it's being used for retirement, but a future council can't go and use the funds for something outside of what we designate when we set up this contract.
You really have set the dollars aside and earmarked those, but they're not in a trust. They're not secured from that perspective. So another council could decide to repurpose those dollars to something else.
But I'm saying if we go with a trust,
Oh,
they
yes.
cannot.
Correct. You put
Okay.
into the trust the 115, then those dollars are restricted to that particular use. So you can apply those dollars either towards your future liability, or you can apply those dollars to your annual payment. So you'll provide funding to the 115, and then the 115 pays from there to CalPERS for your annual
Okay.
liability.
Then I'm good with the recommendation by staff.
Can I?
Yes, Councilmember
Okay.
Santos.
Thank you, Mayor. I like the 115 pension on this, on the trust, and I'm glad that, we're discussing this instead of going to CalPERS. And then you're right, Todd, portion of it, we could go on the liability on the CalPERS because their discount points is, it's, I should not say unpredictable, but, we're talking about 6.5 on that percent, and then went up to 7.5% on that. So us as a city, we're having, challenges on this. So I don't have problem on the Union Bank, going to a US Bank. I have to disclose, that I have accounts and also, the Vanguard on option 4. I do like them on the, on taking care of the, I have a direct, I would say, not on the company because I'm self-employed. I like the way they handle the investments and everything. They're really going on 5% to 8%, right now on the market for over 4 years. So I could recommend that. I'll go for it on the PARS, pension 115 trust on this. I think it's good for the city and for the employees on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much for your input, Councilmember Santos. Councilmember Martinez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So within the report, it talked about establishing procedures and so forth. So that would be coming at a later time, of course, deciding how we want to deal with the money as far as, like you mentioned, upfront, annual, or unfunded. When you researched the other agencies and found that there were little choice out there, what seemed to be the consensus of the options? Or was it really all pretty much sporadic? Did you find that many of them went in one direction over the other?
I found that the majority were going to PARS. There were a few that had chose to go with Keenan, but not very many that were going into actually the PERS. And that's just between what I had pulled. So I went through some other groups through CSMFO, pulled some RFPs I could through there, and got some other professional advice through people in cohort groups that I'm in. And the recommendation was mostly for PARS.
Okay, and I agree. I think this was the first step for definitely responsibility towards this. It requires more discussion, as far as, because the number's so large, what we want to do going forward. But I think this is definitely the first step, so I definitely support the option of a 115 trust program, and I don't see any concern other than what we stated on the bank, but I'll support option 3 as well. So thank you, Mayor.
Can I have an additional on
Councilmember
this?
Santos.
Thank you. I know everybody's looking on the on the management fees on here, and if you look in there, because of their service is so good. Really good. I could testify on that. They got 60 basis points, which is a 5/8 on the point on that. So if you look on the first option and the second option on this, they're charging only a quarter, basic points on this. That's the, I don't see, more of paying the 60 basis points. I'd rather pay that because they're well-managed, company. You could imagine that, you got the trustee is the U.S. Bank. If you look on the, what's the history of the U.S. Bank, you'll be happy on this. I don't work with the U.S. Bank, just like I do disclose that, but I do use them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Santos. So we have consensus with option 4, is that what I understand?
Option 3, right?
Option 3.
Option 3, yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Yes. Mr. Station, looks like we have consensus for option 3, staff recommendation.
Great, thank you. We'll have PARS come back and present to you.
Well, thank you for the research. Appreciate that and
Yeah.
answering all our questions. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to action item 13, review of local emergency declaration established via the adoption of City Beaumont Resolution 2020-07, adopted on March 17th, 2020. Staff report by Mr. Todd Harden.
And it wasn't an accident that this item is under item 13 on your agenda tonight, so just seemed to go with this item. But again, we're still under a gubernatorial declared state of emergency for the state of California. And so for that basis, we would recommend not repealing this resolution yet, although, we've been at it, or under this resolution since March of 2020. So again, it keeps us aligned with where we are with the state. And to this point, the alignment hasn't been an issue. We still remain qualified whether we had a local emergency declaration or not, but we just felt like it'd be prudent to go ahead and maintain this resolution for the time being.
Okay. Thank you for your report. Nicole, do we have any comments on this section?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
Okay, so I'll open it up for public council discussion, or ask that we make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, quick question.
Yes?
So,
Councilmember
Mr.
Finn.
Parton, I had asked previously on outstanding funds that were requested and expected. Has that changed? Is there any grant money or anything like that that we're still waiting on?
We had the SLRF funds that were out there. We've received the first of 2 allocations for that. So there's about another 3.6 million funding that we would expect within the next 10 months or so as our second installment of that. But outside of that, there's really nothing else that's been earmarked for us, with the exception of the 1.6 million, 1.5 million that we had earmarked for assisting with about half the construction costs for the Pennsylvania widening project.
Okay, very good. All right, thanks for the update.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem White?
We discussed this earlier, I think, Mr. Pardon, regarding maybe bringing back the ad hoc committee to consider how we can have more than 3 empty chairs in the council meeting. All the other boards I sit on that are meeting in person, or ones that I've attended, don't seem to have issues with the distancing that we're doing here. So, if there's a way that we can get more space for people to come in, whether or not they come in or not, we can't force that. But again, I think it's just pretty disappointing to look at 3 empty chairs.
Right, and we'll need to bring our subcommittee back here fairly soon. So we're still waiting to see what happens with the federal mandate, for vaccinations, and so we're still awaiting to see what happens, with that
Okay.
challenge that's out on that. And then for sure we need to come back and address, do we want to change our protocols, for public meeting attendance, and then how do we then address or respond to the other potential federal mandates that are kind of hanging out there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So Todd, do you need a motion on this?
There's no action required on this.
Okay.
The resolution remains in effect until removed or revoked or rescinded by the council.
Just wanted to confirm. Thank you. That brings us to action item 14, list of external boards and committees for mayoral appointment at December 21st, 2021 council meeting. Staff report by Ms. Nicole Wheelwright.
Good evening, council. Attached to the staff report is a blank list of the external boards and committees for mayoral appointment on December 21st. Also attached is a list of the current assignments. So with that, I'd like to set a turn-in date of December 10th, if that works for everybody, so that we have enough time for the mayor to review prior to the appointment at the December 21st meeting. I can answer any questions.
Okay, Nicole, do we have any public comment on that?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
Thank you very much. So I'll open it up for council comments or discussion. Councilmember Finn.
I think it's easy for me to raise my hand first, since you look to your right often. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the assignments that I currently have, and I would request that they remain the same for the committee assignments that I've been assigned to.
Okay, so, but,
And
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I don't know, obviously I know a list needs to be turned in, but I just wanted to give that feedback back to the council, so.
Right.
and-
So what you'll do is you'll fill those out. If there are any additional ones that you're interested in, you would show those as well, and then get those into Nicole. And then what Nicole will do is get those requests over to the future mayor.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
So Mayor, I have a question. Yeah, the question on reorganization, so was our mayor appointed on the 21st or on the 10th?
It'll be on the 7th, which is the first meeting of December, which is what
Oh,
was.
okay, I don't know why I was off one.
It's okay. It's got to be the code.
I tell you. Okay, thank you.
So we're able to get that squared away on when we would do that appointment, or not yet?
The appointment of mayor
Yes, ma'am.
would be on the 7th, first meeting of December.
Right, I'm sorry, in the process. We'll just leave it at, it's going to be on the 7th, and we'll work the process out later.
Right, yeah.
All right? We
I
good?
thought the 10th was our meeting, that's why I asked. I didn't look at the
Do you want
calendar.
another meeting on the 10th?
I didn't know.
Sounds like Councilmember Martinez wants a special meeting on the 10th.
Oh, thank you. I should look at the calendar first next time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, can we, because we talked about another potential committee we want to put together, and that's to look at the memorials up front. I know we have a memorial
Oh,
committee
yes.
assignment here, but the mayor's been speaking with representatives of the military community about potentially being able to take the fences and the shrubs down over here where the existing memorial are in front of the building. And the idea is so we can develop a plaza that allows for those memorials to be expanded. Because right now, if you look at them, unfortunately, those memorials are almost full on the military side. So we want to be able to bring, folks that represent public safety for the police and fire, representatives of council, and then representatives of the military community to talk about how we can maybe look at creating a memorial plaza, up front of the building instead. So definitely, we're going to be looking for some council volunteers that'd be willing to work with that committee on that as well.
Do we want to have Nicole add that, or send out an email to add that to our list of committees?
You bet.
Okay, and then we can come back with on that. So, this one was a separate task, which was to get input on the concept of the plaza, as opposed to long-term, I guess, planning and projects. And did you want to go ahead and use that?
Well, I'm trying to cut down on bureaucracy, so if we can do one committee, can do multi-things, I think it'd be better than having another committee with another, unless you're trying to expand it. 'Cause if you don't have the same people on the same committees, then you
Right.
might be talking about different
So
things.
what we want to do on that committee, Councilmember Martinez, was to add input from, say, a representative from veterans, have a representative from retired or from the public safety. Maybe some members from the community, so I guess,
So it's
so we would
ad hoc.
expand it. It would be like an ad
Ad
hoc.
hoc, it wouldn't be a standing committee.
That is correct.
Okay, that makes
Sorry.
sense. Okay, that'll make sense.
Good question, though, thank you.
Thanks.
So Nicole, would you please make that a reference ad hoc on that as well?
Yes, and then I'll go ahead and email that out.
Thank you very much. You need any other input from us, Nicole, on that?
No, sir.
Okay. So that brings us to action item 15, approval of city attorney invoices for the month of September.
Because this involves my law firm, I will recuse myself.
And if I could make a correction, it should say October on the title. It says September, but the invoices are for October.
Oh. Thank you. Okay, so, do we have a motion? Do we have any public comment on this item, Nicole?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
I have a motion from council?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the invoices for the month of October in the amount of $99,399.24.
I'll second.
Councilmember Santos?
Aye.
Councilmember Finn?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes. That brings us to legislative updates and discussion. That would be Ms. Christina Taylor.
Thanks, Mayor. Not a whole lot to talk about this evening as the legislature is still currently on recess. Most of you are aware, I'm sure, that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act was signed by President Biden. This is a 5-year authorization period for federal surface transportation program spending, with a major focus on transportation and water, which is good for the city of Beaumont. Staff met with Townsend last week to discuss projects that the city would potentially like to seek funding for. Those projects do involve both transportation and water, and included Potrero, Penn, recycled water out at the wastewater treatment plant, Stewart Park, and then the I-10 corridor that has been discussed. So of these projects, Potrero, Penn, and the recycled water would be the most viable according to Townsend and what they have knowledge of so far on what's happening behind the scenes with the funding bill. Potrero is still currently on the list for earmark funding. We should know something by the end of the year, depending on how things continue to move in the House. If we don't hear something by the end of the year regarding earmark spending, the next time we would hear something would be mid-March. So we're still optimistic that that we can receive funding for Potrero. Another topic which came up and which will be for future discussion with council is regarding the rail from LA to Coachella and the potential for a transit hub in the city of Beaumont if the city would so choose to pursue that option at some point in time. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have or accept any direction on information you would like staff to look into.
Thank you, Christina. We have any comments or direction? Or are we good with what was presented?
Good.
Looks like we're good, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to economic development update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do not have an update for you this evening as our meeting was canceled due to a lack of items. So we'll have an update for you next month.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Brings us to City Treasurer Report. Mr. Giannetti, do we have? Is Barry on the line?
I don't believe Mr. Genetti's on the line now.
Okay. So it brings us to Mr. Melman's City Clerk Report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We had 19 public records requests submitted and completed in the month of October. A total staff time, 6.5 hours. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Melman. Appreciate that. Brings us to our City Attorney Report.
I have nothing this evening.
Okay.
I'll report on the status of litigation at the next council meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pinckney. Brings us to the one and only City Manager Report, Mr. Todd Parton.
Thank you, Mayor. So in your report or your packet, you had the October 2021 project update. So it takes you department by department through our list. Just a couple things just want to kind of bring back to the attention. So the Pennsylvania Avenue widening project is still being projected to bid by the end of 2021. And that's the widening from First Street up to 6th Street. West Side Fire Station, we're still waiting on some final environmental documents on that so we can get that project out to bid as well. And then the 2nd Street extension, our plans are 95% completed. And so they are under review by city staff currently. So that is happening and underway. Probably the most exciting thing I need to announce is that Carrie Mendoza finished her first ever marathon on Saturday.
Wow.
So she ran down San Bernardino Mountain or something like that. So from Grayback Amphitheater down to Redlands. So congratulations. And she broke 4 hours. So she got down there fast. So, so kudos. Don't try to race her down the hall because you're going to beat her. So she would appreciate that.
Or to the next potluck.
Exactly. Exactly. And that concludes.
Unless I'm
report.
racing you, sir, and we're going to win.
So,
Sounds
Mr.
like-
Parton himself ran a 3:13, so don't let
Wow.
him fool you.
Wow.
well, 3:12, but I'm not counting the minute, Carrie.
How many miles is that?
And then one thing to let y'all know too, that when we were doing our legislative report a little bit ago, the earmark is actually for that portion of Pennsylvania. Potrero isn't the earmark, it is Pennsylvania Widening. So we just transposed those street names for you. Apologize. So that concludes our report.
So when you talk about running under 4, you're not talking like Monday through Thursday, right?
No,
Oh,
no, she
okay.
did it like
That's more my speed right
It's not
there.
days.
All right.
3 hours, 51 minutes, and 4 seconds, if I remember that correctly.
Mayor, I have a couple questions for the
Yes.
city manager. I noticed in the last day or so that there are signs up about Pennsylvania being closed. What's that closure for?
That's UPRR. So they are going to be doing some work on that crossing that's there. So they did pull an encroachment permit for that, but that is their project. So
And UPRR, Union Pacific?
Union Pacific,
Okay.
yes.
And then the other question is, and I'll just keep, I'm going to start asking this every meeting. Can we please remove the sign by Cane's that says, in the movie theater, that says that shopping center will open in 2019?
That sign does not violate our code.
Can we
so-
can we politely ask the owner
Yes,
to
we
remove
we
it?
will request that they
Okay.
consider taking that down.
Okay, thank you.
So on that repair, do we know the extent of that? Are they going to fix the pavement hopefully around that crossing?
We don't know for
Okay.
sure what they're going to do.
We can hope.
So they're kind of a agency unto their own. So
I've heard. Thank you.
Oh, how long was that closure going to be?
2 days?
they had listed for 2 days.
And it's middle of the week, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I think Christmas Eve and Christmas.
That would be better.
Can I quick questions also? No.
Councilmember
Please.
Santos. Yes, sir.
Okay, Todd.
Definition of quick?
Hey, there you go. Quick is the right there on the our theater, and everybody is asking for this. I mean, I did ask you this. I like to do it in public. What will be up on that corner, right there on the across Canes?
Across from Cane's, and so north of the movie theater and south of Walmart there.
Yeah.
That's the Alamo. We had to move the Alamo over here. So bring a little culture to California. No, that is going to be a
Sherman-Williams?
Sherwin-Williams, yes.
There you
paint
go.
store.
So,
Yeah. No,
Right.
that's for public. I mean, there's a lot of
I know everybody gets
citizens
excited
that are
anytime they see
exciting
new
what's
building.
going on that. So I knew that, but I like to do it public. So,
Okay.
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That brings us to future agenda items. Councilmember Finn.
Since we didn't have the opportunity to have an Economic Development Committee meeting, I do have a request for that committee that we, if we can get, if I can, I'm sure it's a benefit to the others as well, but get a list of all the properties that are owned by the city, both vacant lots and those are occupied. So for example, we had the closed discussion about some lots that the city owns. And then also, I did not know that the city owned that church, the building that the church is renting. So I'd like to see what else is there and see what other opportunities we might be able to move forward. And then also, one other item is an update on the street improvements. I did have a member of the public reach out to me a couple of times. We forward that request to Mr. Jeff Hart, who has done a great job at following up and reporting back to that resident. But there were just some issues with signage on closure dates for the Three Rings Ranch neighborhood and so forth. And so I think it's been addressed very well by staff, but I'd just like to get an update on how things are going and where they're at and so forth. So maybe just a short update on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Finn. I do have one request, and because I think we're running up against a time crunch on this. It would be to look at a resolution in regards to the federal vaccination mandate. And that would be against forcing our employees to be vaccinated, if we could bring that back, because I believe January is what they're looking at.
Not objecting at all, but can you maybe be a little more clear on what you're thinking about as far as
I would like to oppose the requirement for mandatory vaccinations of city employees.
Okay, I'll second that. Oh, okay.
This is a quick one.
Hashtag me too.
Okay. Any other requests for future agenda items? If not, we'll go to council reports. Councilmember Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. So I attended the Financial and Audit Committee meeting, and they had appointed to the subcommittees, and Mr. Genetti was going to report on that, so we'll probably do that next time unless you have that information. I didn't write that down.
I didn't bring
Yeah,
that
I
with
didn't
me
bring it
tonight.
either. So, but we did appoint to the subcommittees, and there were 2 out of the 4 that we did appoint to, and the other 2 we decided to hold off and concentrate on the other 2, but I don't have the info.
I'm here now.
Oh, there you are.
So whenever you can put me in, Mike, I'll give an update.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll continue and then you can. I attended the Cal City's, the Riverside Division meeting on Zoom. It spoke briefly on the ACA 7 working group, so I did a little bit of update on that. And I did make a comment on the supervisors and their boundary changes and my question about the ethics in that, but that was just my personal comment on that.
Good for you.
On the ACA 7 working group, so when you have a group of many people with many ideas, sometimes you don't get a lot of progress done. So we have not had a lot of progress done. I think what they're trying to do is give us a lot of the background about how the constitutional amendment works and that kind of stuff. So we haven't really even touched the discussion that we're supposed to be touching on. So they expanded our meeting actually tomorrow to 3 hours instead of 2, so that we can see if we can get to the actual goals, which is trying to get the our recommendation to the Cal City's executive board. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm curious to start talking about the actual stuff, but we haven't, right? We got bogged down with the CEQA discussion. There's points of view on whether CEQA is addressed or not addressed, so that kind of held our discussion up. There's conflicting opinions on that. What are the impacts to the general law cities was discussed, and as well as the debate over the constitutional amendment itself and whether it's amendment or a revision. So there was a lot of legal discussion from the legal department on that. So like I said, we didn't get really to a lot of the members discussing our points of view and our recommendations. So hopefully we'll get to that tomorrow, and I'll bring that back on my next report. And lastly, again, I want to thank all those involved for the Veterans Parade. I'm sure you'll do that. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there. It was an awesome time. I think it was well deserved. And I want to give thanks out. There's a big list. Thank you, Ms. Gibbs, for sending us a list of all those involved. Ms. Gibbs, Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Harwood, Mr. Story. The list goes on and on. But it takes a village to get something like that accomplished. So I just wanted to give that thanks and shout out to all those involved, and of course to the veterans who are well deserved, and a lot of comments from them They
Yeah.
really felt comfortable, and I couldn't believe we hadn't done that before, so good job to all those. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you very much for that update, Mr. Martinez, Councilmember Martinez, excuse me. Councilmember Finn.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have to report on is the Veterans Day Parade. I really, really appreciate it, being a veteran myself. I was touched, and having the seat closest to Mr. Paul St. Martin, I can tell he was visibly touched as well, and was very honored with the selection of being Grand Marshal. And so I think it was a wonderful choice.
Yes.
I appreciate all those who helped. And it was the first time I had been in a parade since I was in the military, and I was on a drill team during my AIT years with the Army. And so I had a good time. So I appreciate the honor to be a part of it, and look forward to many more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Finn. Councilmember Santos.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I attended the, Cal series, with, Julio here, and also with David on at the same time. And he covered everything in here. I will say that he presented the ACA very good. And also, I'm proud of him. I mean, requesting to have a fundraising on the cornhole
That's fine.
tournament, or, that's great, man. I mean, so I have to put my skills on this, I mean, to be part of that. Way to go, man. I mean, first recommendations in there. Thank you on that, Mr. Martinez, on that. And then also I attended the VA Veterans. I'm really honored that, Mr. Jerry Gibbs, a part of my, my Corvette 2019 that we put it in there. I really appreciate that. I mean, and also Mike, another Mike that who drove that Corvette, and also I was impressed of Jerry Gibbs, Mr. Gibson here, and because of he served also in the Philippines. And we shared a lot of information about, his experience being stationed also in the Philippines. And I was honored and thankful of being with him on that. And also, I like to thank all the staff, all the, safety, officers in there, everybody. I mean, you deserve a big two salutes, from us on this. I mean, I really appreciate that being on that parade, and this is our first time. We made a history on this. I mean, this is great. And also, lastly is I would say happy birthday to Beaumont, nobody's
Oh, yeah.
birthday. That was yesterday's birthday. That will be 109th birthday on City of Beaumont. And that's amazing. I mean, people, keep on asking, oh, when did you became, city? I said, 100 years. I mean, they cannot believe that we're in existence already on this. So probably one of these days, I mean, next year, 110, we could celebrate that on this day. That's October 16, 1912. That's all,
I don't think we
Mayor.
look a day over 100.
I know,
myself,
I mean, it doesn't look like.
Was it October or November 16th?
It says November 16.
November 16th.
Yeah.
Today did.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Nicole, did you get the cake I asked for?
Next time, we will do it.
Thank you very much,
Oh,
Councilmember
thank you,
Santos.
Mayor.
The card got lost in the mail.
Mr. Giannetti, we'll do the treasurer's report now, if that's okay with you, sir?
You're the boss, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. Excuse me for my tardiness, but I was presenting the 2022 budget and HOA fee increase tonight, so the natives were restless, but I'm here. And how did you ever get the meeting done so soon? Okay. We have several vacancies on the committee, and Nicole has put the application process out so that we can get some more members. As was mentioned by Mr. Martinez, subcommittee assignments. there were 4 new ones that you gave us about 2 months ago. And we looked at it with the people we have. We just felt we needed to put some in our priority. We're keeping your priority, CalPERS liability and bond accountability. We will address those first. We have a team put together for those. The reserve financial policies and the long-term financial sustainability, we'd like to put on hold till we get some more members or till we get some of the ones done that we have. As far as the internal control audit that we've been performing, we kind of closed out the assignment that was there, but the committee said we should probably keep that team and committee together as other needs arise based on the audit so that we can be on top of that. So that will stay as it is. The CFD and training and FAQ, we should be getting something there shortly. We only have 1 member handling that right now. And the financial training, the 101 thing for the community, the presentation's completed and will be presented at our next meeting, and then we'll be able to share it with you. Otherwise, that's all I have. Thank you for squeezing me in.
Not a problem. Thank you very much, Mr. Giannetti. That brings us to council report from Mr. Mayor Pro Tem White.
Thank you. Let me start by saying happy birthday to my wife as well, and she's not going to be happy that it's the same birthday as the city. So
But it's not 109, man.
My son.
I wasn't going to go there with the age.
I'll be in trouble.
So I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting on the 9th to speak in representing the city council and our position regarding keeping the paths together in the redistricting maps. I was joined there by the mayor of Banning and the former mayor of Banning, Debbie Franklin, thank you. And about 20 members of Morongo was there, as well as a couple other locals. And I think it was successful. We'll know when the new maps come out. And I also attended the seniors turkey dinner put on by the Rotary Club. And I was serving gravy next to the mayor, who was serving green beans, and he was trying to make sure that everyone had their vegetables. It was an incredible parade, and I hope in 2022, everyone has come up to me and said how great it was.
Yeah.
And I think that they really, staff really pulled that off well. And I think we can double the participation easily in 2022. And I think there should also be an award for the council member with the loudest car, because I think I would have won that one this year. But that's assuming no one brings in a fire engine. So that's all I had.
All right. Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem White.
Oh, yeah, that's what
That's what I heard.
I'm talking about the car, not the
car,
not the
no.
council member.
Not the writer.
That's why. That's why I said I have to say sorry to Julio on this. I
Okay.
have to make fun. But
Well, I've got quite a few things to go over, so I ask for your patience, please. Nicole, can you put the PowerPoint up? It's only
We have a PowerPoint?
you have a PowerPoint.
whoa.
So I think this one's only 42 slides. I cut it down from 60, so. Beaumont Unified School District is extremely excited about their expansion at the high school, and they asked if I would mind sharing some of the update with that. So as the city of Beaumont continues to be one of the fastest growing cities in the state of California, and in an effort to keep up with that growth, the Beaumont Unified School District has been working on a multi-phase high school expansion project. It consists of 3 phases. Phase 1 has already been completed, which included the grading, foundation construction, and installation of all necessary underground utilities. Phase 2 is almost complete and is a single 2-story classroom with classroom building with a total of 18 classrooms. There will be 5 career tech classrooms with adjoining lab space, 2 science classrooms. If you will go ahead and switch the Next slide, please. Thank you. 2 science classrooms, and 11 general education classrooms that'll be open and shared, or be open to a shared collaborative space. There'll be 2 conference rooms, teacher staging area, and lounge. In Phase 3, next slide, please. Phase 3 is just getting underway, and it will include a second 2-story building, which will also consist of 18 classrooms. Next slide, please. And you'll see those are going to be on the, looks like the left of the slide that you're looking at now, out towards the front. So the 18 classrooms, it'll also, in the second building will include the 18 classrooms. It'll also include a new administrative office and additional conference rooms as well. Next slide, please. So as you can see, they've also included a modification to the tennis courts, which was formerly a soccer practice field. Parking has been revamped and expanded, as you'll see that over to the lower right. And they also have two new softball fields. You can see those very plainly towards the center of the screen there. Next slide, please. There's a better shot of the basketball courts as well as the new tennis courts with the baseball field. Next slide. This is one of the labs that they are offering, that they're going to be installing for a robotics class. The murals seem to be playing a big part in these expansions, as you'll see in the next slide. That is a mural. Obviously, it's a local mural. I think we've seen that shot quite a few times. This doesn't do it justice. Seeing it in person looks fantastic. Next slide, please. This is another one in one of the labs. Next slide. And this is portion is just a picture of the new administration building. There'll be a new cover over the entryway, as well as a new cover for the lunch area, which would be further to the right, left of this in this rendering here. Next slide, please. All right.
Is that north part of the campus over by the pool parking lot, that administration building, or?
Yeah. The administration building is going to be over where the basketball courts were.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you go back to the first slide? I have a question on it.
Sure.
Right there. Is that a digital board up there in the right?
Yes.
Welcome? Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Also wanted to talk about Thanksgiving. They're going to be doing another Thanksgiving dinner delivery for homebound and disabled folks that are located within the 92223 zip code. So if there's anybody out there who knows or has anybody that is homebound or disabled, please call 951-769-8524. Again, that's 951-769-8524. Thank you. Also, again, not to belabor this, but the parade was great. There was a lot of positive feedback. We had 42 entries for that. And I thought staff did a fantastic job ensuring that everybody had their banner, their vehicle. So I was very appreciative. So thanks to staff for an excellent event. Typically for Thanksgiving, what we do as a family is we just indicate what we're thankful for. So what I'd like to do is just indicate what I'm thankful for this evening, which is the city staff. I didn't want to identify specific departments, but I did want to indicate that the city staff is very dedicated to our public community, and I appreciate their dedication and their commitment to our city. So I'm very grateful for that, and I thank them for their efforts. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:46 p.m.
Lloyd,
Yes.
9:45.